Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday, March 8th. Another wild day, a lot of volatility in the markets. Let's go over it. A lot of geopolitics. All right, so early this morning, we found out that Biden, he has decided to ban imports of Russian energy, that is oil, coal, and natural gas. He obviously acquiesced to demands from Congress. They wanted to see this happen, and right away we saw oil prices shoot up. We got up to near 130. It pulled back a little bit, but of course Americans are going to be feeling the impact of this with ever rising gas prices. And again, I want to mention we are exporting nearly 4 million barrels a day of crude. There has not been a ban on U.S. crude exports. Like you hear everybody screaming about, hey, we got to increase domestic production. Screw the Russians. We don't need their oil. We got to increase domestic production. Get the Keystone Pipeline going. Start drilling again. We're exporting 4 million barrels a day of crude. I mean, that's a simple executive order ban by Biden. Trump was the one who pumped up crude oil exports, petroleum exports, where they were essentially banned up until the Trump presidency, and he really pumped it up. Like I said yesterday, he's like, yeah, I'm making money for America, like the businessman. I've always said it's not good to have a businessman in politics. Business and government are two separate things. If you want government to make a profit, that's very easy. They can nationalize everything, and it'll be the richest entity on earth by far. It has the power to tax, it has the power to seize, it has the power to levy fines, it has the power to do anything it wants. I mean, it's just stupid. You have to keep the two things separate. Anyway, so we had that. Then the market started to rally. We had a pretty good rally going on, and I think it was because Ukraine and Russia were having negotiations again. And it looked like for a while that Zelensky was going to acquiesce to Russian demands. I talked about that yesterday. What Russia is demanding is that Ukraine, in writing, promises not to become a member of any alliance like NATO, and also to recognize the Donbass region as independent. And there were some quotes from Zelensky that kind of alluded to, hey, he's warming up to this idea. And it's a question of just having to prepare the Ukrainian people for that. I guess you call it a surrender, a capitulation, an agreement, whatever you want to call it. But then that thing seemed to fall through. But the thing that slipped out, which turned the market around, and I sent out an email as soon as I saw this, was Putin signed a decree banning exports of Russian products and raw materials through the end of this year, like into 2023 now. That's big. Now, it wasn't stipulated in that message what products are being banned, but he said raw materials, commodities, and other products are the export ban by Russia. That could be the tipping point for the global economy. I mean, so far, despite all the sanctions and the efforts to shut down the Russian economy, which, have gone pretty far, at least financially, okay? In spite of all that, Russia has still been exporting energy. Europe has not, by the way, Europe did not sign on to the U.S. ban on Russian energy imports. U.S. is doing it unilaterally. Germany and other states within the EU say, look, we can't do this. I mean, we rely too heavily, so they're not doing it. But now Russia is saying, and I don't know if this includes energy, they didn't, it wasn't specified what products are banned, what Russian products are banned for export, but this could be big. This could be really big. I mean, if they ban exports of natural gas and oil, I mean, you're looking at I think you're looking easily at over $200 a barrel oil, maybe even $300 a barrel oil. I don't want to get hyperbolic about it, but I mean, it's definitely going to be, and that's enough I've been talking to you about, or I've been explaining how each $10 increase for the United States equates to a 14 billion net loss of income that flows out into the foreign sector. When you get up to $200, the loss of income is clearly enough to put the U.S. into a recession. And if you get up to 250, 300, I mean, we could be in a global depression. So again, I mean, this goes back. I mean, go back to the video I made when the sanctions really started to flow, and I said there's going to be blowback. There's going to be big time blowback. I mean, whoever concocted this idea, this foreign policy from the very get-go, from this never-ending pressure to surround Russia with nuclear missiles and just continue to push and push and push and corner this country, despite its pleadings and its warnings. I mean, and Washington was like, fuck you, we're going to do this anyway. We don't give a shit. We're going to do this. I mean, starting from that point all the way now to these sanctions, this has been just a foreign policy epic disaster of all time. Like, you got to wonder, do these morons have any fucking brains at all? I mean, not to mention the fact that it could eventually lead to World War III nuclear war. Let's put that aside, for now. Like, hope to God, we can set it aside. But that's still on the table, okay? All right, we have that. A lot of people, and I hear these really, really, kind of flippant comments. One from this guy, Steve Leesman on CNBC, saying, oh, the Russian ruble dropped, 50% or 40%. That just reduced the size of the Russian economy by 40%. Ha 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 ha. The guy is an idiot. That is such a naive and unsophisticated and simplistic way to, quantify an economy. All right? I mean, it's not just in terms of the dollar translation of the size of its output. Russia controls 11% of the global oil supply. They control 17% of natural gas in the world. They control 11% of the global wheat supply. They control 11% of the precious metal supply. They control 10% of industrial metal supply. I mean, if you want to look at it in terms of real assets, the largest country on earth, I mean, you can make a case that it is also the richest country on earth based on that, on real assets. To say, oh, now the calculus is reduced by 40% because the ruble went down. You can't eat rubles. You can't put them in your car to run gasoline. I mean, the guy is an idiot for saying something like that. And that just speaks, if I may say so, that speaks to the whole financial business reporting, journalistic, if you want to call it that, media. They're idiots. They're morons. All right, I got that rant off my chest. So what's happening? I'm sticking to what I'm saying for now. Like, I don't know what this Russian export ban is going to entail. It doesn't sound good. I mean, it seems like the first time that Putin is lashing out in a significant way in response to the sanctions. Up until now, basically Russia has borne the negative impact of sanctions without real retaliatory measures that could, significantly bite. But this is one of them. Another thing I want to talk about is the CIA, the director of the CIA, what's his name? Burns? I forget his first name. Burns. He said, there was a tweet, or I saw something today saying the next couple of weeks is going to get very, very ugly for Ukraine. And my reading on that is the Ukraine military, its forces are facing ultimately defeat. Russia is moving slowly. There's been a lot of comments in the last, how long this thing been going on about, oh, Russia's losing, they're getting decimated, the losses. It doesn't matter for Russia. That's how they fight historically, and they're not going to stop because of that. This is not like a Western country where you have a lot of losses and, we pull back. I mean, we can't handle that. We're very, very sensitive to seeing those body bags on TV and everything else like that. Russia has fought in many, many wars, and they've lost millions and millions of people. I'm not saying that's a good strategy, but right now, with Burns saying that, he's kind of sending the signal that it's over for Ukraine in another couple of weeks. So this war is going to last another couple of weeks. The Ukrainian forces are now in a cauldron. You know what a cauldron is? That's an encirclement. What do you do in a cauldron? You boil it, you burn whatever's in there. And they're just going to tighten that cauldron up. They've encircled Kiev, they've encircled these other cities, and they're going to tighten that cauldron up. And eventually, the Ukrainian forces, I mean, it's over. It's over. And Zelensky is going to have to come to something, but I also think, because look, let's face it, I said this yesterday, the United States does not want Ukraine to capitulate. They want Ukraine to keep fighting, to hopefully, in the minds of these lunatics in Washington, to bankrupt Russia, okay? I don't know who's going to end up being bankrupted more, whether it's going to be Russia or the West, seeing as how things are going. But that's how these, idiotic strategists in Washington are thinking. The other thing is that, look, I've tried to explain this to you guys many times before. Zelensky is a puppet of his government, which is rife with neo-Nazi, right-wing, far right-wing nationalists, and they're not going to let him. They're just, my view, and again, I'm not an expert on geopolitics, and I've made some, big mistakes on calling how this thing was going to go, but I don't see them allowing Zelensky to, basically let Russia win, or to surrender to Russia. I think he might be assassinated. I said that yesterday. I just don't see that happening. I don't see the U.S. allowing him to do that. That's why I think today's talks, it was kind of futile, because it just wasn't going to happen. I think he wants to come to some agreement. The guy ran on a peace platform and very quickly got turned around into this pro-NATO, we're going to restart, with nuclear weapons again. That was clearly from the inside of his government. Pressure on the inside for him to, shift position, pressure from the United States for him to shift position. He didn't run on that platform. He ran on a peace platform. It's pretty obvious. So this is why these talks, and it's been like, 3-4 days of talks now, they've gone nowhere. They've basically been show talks, because the United States is not allowing him to make that deal. And the members of his government, where it's a large segment of which is represented by this far right-wing nationalist, neo-Nazi, Azov Battalion, C-14, all these groups. There's a bunch of them. They're not going to let him make that deal. So sad for Ukraine that it's getting destroyed, and sad for its people. This whole thing has been terrible. And now, the ripple effects, the blowback here, we're going to feel it. So again, the big news today, I think, was the fact that Putin said there's a ban on exports until 2023. Again, we don't know what products, are in that ban, where I suspect we'll find out pretty soon. But if it's energy, $250, $300 a barrel. That is not out of the realm of possibility. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Enjoy as best you can. Oh, happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. Enjoy. Bye.